Hey guys, so Tesla has done something very interesting this time around, trying to cater around the local markets as they would typically do. And although this is not the first time they have done something like this, it's the first time in a very long time they have released a compliance car that has been severely software limited and detuned. So let's roll back to early 2017 when Tesla had originally launched the Model 3. They had a price point set at $35,000 for the US market. Considering how expensive early EVs like the Nissan Leafs were, this is the best thing that you can buy in the electric market. Now during that time, there were three different trims that were offered, the Standard Range Plus, the Long Range, as well as the Performance, with the prior two set as high priority in terms of production and deliveries. Now unfortunately, if you were living outside of the US, this was not the case because we were just all sitting on the sideline looking at what was happening, all the excitement and buzz going around this launch. Now, because of Tesla's close tie to North America, this is the bulk of where Tesla does a lot of their new product launches as well as software releases. Similar to what went on with the full self-driving software as well as future products, the original Model 3 eventually made its way up north to Canada just a few short months after releasing it in the States. So now, what made this launch up in Canada so special was the fact that there were pre-existing federal incentives even before the Model 3 was announced. This means that for Tesla, getting into the market up north was very lucrative because they can take advantage of all the federal incentives as well as the benefit of being first. This expands their horizon, giving them the access to high volume sales. However, there was one thing stopping them from doing this, and that was the federal threshold that was set in place, qualifying only vehicles within that price point. Now there were some nuances to this rule, allowing up to an MSRP of $55,000, which gives a rebate back of $5,000. And Tesla, knowing that the Standard Range Plus model with an MSRP conversion of $47,000 should technically qualify for this rebate. However, that was not the case due to the other aspect and the other requirement set in place. As part of a contingency for Canada's program rebate, Tesla would need to manufacture a car that is less than $45,000. This would then qualify them for the next trim up, which is $55,000 MSRP. So what this ultimately meant for Tesla is their $47,000 Tesla Model 3 Standard Range Plus was no longer qualifying on this incentive, meaning that they had to make some drastic change, either reduce the price of the vehicle or make something new. Thinking out of the box, Tesla decided to offer a vehicle that was heavily software limited but offered at $44,999, which technically is under that threshold required by the government, and then now they can offer the next highest trim. Now this Model 3 here, you would not believe, it came with a software limited pack that only goes up to 96 miles or about 150 kilometers on a full charge. Tesla had practically made this vehicle useless in any scenario from day-to-day drive to highway and long road trips. This was not a vehicle that you wanted to bring in any occasion. Now what's even more crazy about this is that the vehicle was only 2,500 Canadian dollars less than the Standard Range Plus, and it also removed the autopilot package. So what you're practically getting is a Model 3 with 96 miles of range and without any driver assistance features at all. This would make it just an upscaled and a worse version of the Nissan Leaf. So yeah, being at $44,999, we are just $1 off from the federal threshold, which now puts the Standard Range Plus model within the qualifying range, and this is where they are now in compliance and people are able to take advantage of the $5,000 federal rebate. So in Canada, there was practically no reason to get this car at all, but there were a few people who actually did, and that was the problem. People thought that Tesla would eventually unlock this model, give us access to the full battery once again, but due to the restriction and compliance with the government, they were never able to do so, and now these vehicles are practically sitting in the junkyard if have not already been scrapped. Alright, so from that point on, Tesla never really made another software limited car to that extent, but moving into 2024 of this week practically, they have just released a brand new Model 3 that has gone through this exact exact same method, and this is for a very specific market. Just last week, Tesla Asia has announced that they are now going to be offering a Category A or Category B of the Model 3. This is currently only available in Singapore, but due to its popularity and how Tesla is approaching this with local laws, they are likely going to be bringing this to a lot of other markets as well. Now, unlike the Canadian version where the battery has been severely restricted, this version here seems to be a lot more attractive to the general mass. Tesla has split the base Model 3 into two different segments, both being identical in every way with the exception of acceleration. Category B of the Model 3 will be getting a 0 to 100 km/h acceleration of 6.1 seconds, whereas Category A is going to be at 8.6. Now, truth be told, this is not simply just the slowest vehicle that Tesla has ever sold. This could possibly be the slowest vehicle comparing it to any of the most recent vehicles on the market today. You are looking at the most comparable vehicles being the Toyota Corolla, the Honda Civics, and even most minivans are faster than this base Model 3 being offered. Now, you may think this is not possible. There is no chance Tesla is going to be making a Model 3 that is slower than practically every vehicle on the market today, especially being that it is so light. Well, that is exactly what has happened. Tesla had nuked all the performance out of this Category A Model 3 base model simply because of the rules and regulations set in place by the government. From what it looks like in Singapore, with the addition of having the cars priced exceptionally high and with road taxes, fees, insurance, there is something additional called the certification of entitlement. Now, this certification here is required with any motor vehicle being registered within this country, and most of the time this certification alone is even priced higher than the actual value of the car. And just for reference here, to own a very basic car in the US like the Toyota Camry, in Singapore you're looking upwards of $185,000, and this is after all the conversion to the US dollar. Depending where you are, you can practically buy a home for the price of Singaporeans buying a new car. This is just mind-blowing in every single way, but this is the cost of living in such a beautiful city. So yeah, keeping this in mind, Tesla had to do something about this to make the car much more affordable for Singaporeans to own. Keeping the MSRP of this vehicle exactly the same, they have managed to find a way to substantially reduce the cost to allow Singaporeans to all own these vehicles without breaking the bank, and they've done it in a very unique way. According to the requirements by COE, as long as the car is less than 110 kilowatts or about 130 horsepower, it will qualify being in part of Category A, which should drop it by $20,000. Now, $20,000 is no small amount. This is the deciding factor whether you're going to be picking up a brand new Model 3 or you'll be walking out of the showroom with nothing, and this is where a lot of Singaporeans are very excited to be having a car that is much cheaper to register. Now, the only downside about this trim or this model alone within Category A is that it is substantially slow in possibly every single situation. Now, I don't personally know the driving habits and the rules and regulations within Singapore, if their highways are very fast, require a lot of acceleration or not, but 130 horsepower, it doesn't seem like enough, and I personally feel and have experienced a Toyota Corolla or a Honda Fit with about 150 horsepower struggles to accelerate onto the highway, so I don't know how Tesla is going to achieve all this with 130. So yeah, if there are any Singaporeans watching this video and you guys have experienced Category A Tesla Model 3, definitely let us know in the comments below. We would love to hear how the thing drives, how it feels, and how the acceleration really is. But all in all, I think this is really beneficial to those of you guys that don't really require all that power and just want a very comfortable ride. This is the very first time in a long time that they are taking the Canadian approach, but in another country. And as Tesla is trying to expand into other areas and with governments trying to transition over to EV, it's likely the fact that this same method is going to be applying to other local markets as well in the very near future. So look out for that. Anyways, this this is the latest update for this one, but there is a ton more coming up that I want to share with you, so make sure you stick around and hit that subscribe button, that bell notification if you haven't already done so, and follow me on Twitter or X. Over there you guys will get the latest, as well as chat with me, DM with me anytime, and I will try to respond as quickly as possible. This should wrap it up for this video. I'll see you in the next one. This is John once again. Peace out.